Okay, first things first. Guys, please don't post your questions in the comment section of these videos. Please. I know it's convenient to do so. I know you think it's relevant to do that. But please, I'm begging you. That stuff gets buried really fast, and I'm much less likely to see it when you do it this way. I would prefer it if you sent your questions in a personal message to me. All you have to do is go to my channel, click on the tab that says About, and click the Send Message button and send your questions that way. That's all you have to do. That's it. It's not that hard to do it, and it makes my life that much easier. It's very, very time consuming when I have to hunt all over the place for these questions, and it takes that much longer to put these videos together. It goes by so much quicker when they're all in one neat little place that I can just scroll down and answer the questions that way. So please don't post your questions in the comments of the video. Please. Just a little PSA for the future. Welcome back to Brawlmaster Unscripted. This is the segment where I answer an assortment of questions, be they thoughtful or stupid. I've got something I kind of need to confess here. I know you guys were probably expecting something big and flashy and special this time around, and I gave it a lot of thought, but I ultimately decided that my original plans for the 10th installment might have been a little too ambitious. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really appreciate that for some reason you guys enjoy listening to me ramble on and on about myself for half an hour or longer, but I just think I'm getting a little ahead of myself here by wanting to do some kind of big special version for this installment. I don't know. I want this series to go on for a bit longer before I start really treating it as any sort of accomplishment or doing anything sort of special with it. The best way I can explain this is, you know how when you're watching a Let's Play, they'll get to the 10th part, but it's not like they do anything special for the 10th part. It's just, oh, welcome to part 10 of me playing this game. And that's it. So that's kind of how I'm viewing this video in particular. It's just the 10th installment of Brawlmaster Unscripted. So I don't think it's really that special enough to warrant going the extra mile to make it special. You know, I think the series needs to grow a little more, needs to go on for a little bit longer before I do anything special. I don't know how much more growth or how much longer it needs to go on before we get to that point, but I'm thinking that's just something I'll know when I get there. So I apologize if I'm disappointing you if you were expecting something big like I said there was going to be, but I just kind of felt like it was a little too early for that. So this is just going to be a normal unscripted. We haven't had one of those in a while, so I hope that's okay with you. There's not going to be any sort of live stream. I don't have any special guests or anything. It's just me answering questions, doing what I always do. So at least not yet. It could change if we ever get to like Brawlmaster Unscripted 100, but by then you might have my kid doing it, so I don't know. Yeah, but anyways, let's get right into the questions. Alright, let's start off with 5 questions from FJV. Number 1. Vomit. Why are you so ugly? I don't know. Ask my parents. They made me this way. Number 2. What are your thoughts on Regular Guy's Billy and Mandy LP? 2 words. Underrated masterpiece. Number 3. Favorite Brain Scratch Comms LP? I haven't seen all of them. They've done a lot of LPs, but from what I have watched so far of their work, I think my favorite from them would be their Super Mario 3D World playthrough. That one was probably my favorite just because when I played through the game for myself, I was just playing by myself. I didn't have anyone to play with. I was enjoying the solo experience, and I did enjoy the game. But I missed out on that multiplayer experience, that unique feeling you get from playing with other people. And that's exactly what they did in this LP. They played with 4 people, and it was its own thing. It was a unique multiplayer experience, one that I didn't really get to experience. I was experiencing it firsthand. You know, I just really enjoyed watching them fight, and they had so many funny moments, and this was just its own unique little special thing, and I really liked that. I felt like I was kind of a part of, you know, something special. So that one was probably my favorite. That and the fact that I just really enjoyed Super Mario 3D World. I probably want to go back and play through that game again sometime because it's just so much fun. But yeah, that's probably the favorite LP that they've done that I really enjoy. I look forward to watching more of their stuff, and hopefully I'll find other LPs I enjoy just as much from them. I'm sure I will, because God, I love these people. They're so good. Number 4. Shit. Hey. That's not a question. And number 5. If a sexy lady walked up to you and said, "Hey," what would you do? First of all, why would she say "A" of all things? And second, why would she talk to me if I'm so ugly? Why would she even look at me? Huh? Answer me that. I now fully expect a video from you to explain your reasoning behind this question, because it makes no sense to me and I refuse to answer it correctly, and I'm gonna nitpick the shit out of it, and you need to put this video together, because it's not like you're busy doing anything else these days at all, because you don't make videos anymore. So hop to it. Okay, next question comes from Rogers Films Unlimited. Have you played Omega Ruby / Alpha Sapphire? If so, how do you feel they compare to both the original Ruby and Sapphire and X and Y? Out of all of those games you just listed there, the only ones I've actually played are X and Y. And I haven't even played the original. I'm probably going to be crucified by the Pokemon fans for that, but I have not actually played Gen 3. And the reason for that is just because Gen 3 came out when I was getting to that point where I was at the age where I felt like Pokemon wasn't cool anymore. I felt like Pokemon wasn't interesting or exciting, so I just didn't play it. I skipped over it completely. I didn't get back into the series until X and Y came out. And it's just, I haven't played the original, so I can't even really comment on how it compares to the remake. You know, I'm thinking I might want to try the remake someday, but I've already been over this multiple times when it comes to games. I've got this huge list of games I need to go through. But yeah, I mean, the games look good to me. They look like they're very faithful to the originals and that they do enough new stuff. Visually, the games look, you know, even better than X and Y. I mean, just like with the dialogue sequences, you can actually, you know, they look more engaging. So I will say that I am interested in trying the remakes of Gen 3, but as for commenting on how they are, I haven't played them. I can't comment on how they compare to the original games because I didn't play those. You know what? I don't even know which one to play. You know, if you've played Gen 3, what do you recommend? Should I play the originals first, try to track those down on like Amazon or something? Or should I just, you know, play through the remakes, you know, experience Gen 3 for the first time? You know, get involved, share your thoughts. I'm curious to what my Pokemon fans who are watching this are thinking. If I have any fans like that, I really don't know. Okay, next question comes from Awesome Cauliflower 68. Do you feel like Donkey Kong is considered a lesser series by most Nintendo fans, even though after Wii, Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda, it's the best-selling Nintendo series? I don't really think it's considered that much of a lesser series because, as you mentioned, it is one of their best-selling franchises, you know? I think the problem with Donkey Kong is that it has this little identity problem. It's another platformer, you know? We've got Mario who does platforming, then we've got Kirby who does more family-friendly platforming. Oh god, just made Mario sound not family-friendly by that, but hopefully you guys know what I mean. You know, Kirby's easier. He's easier for younger gamers to play. And then Donkey Kong is for more experienced gamers because the platforming is more frantic and fast-paced. But what I'm trying to say here is that I think Donkey Kong was entering into a crowded genre. You know, if Donkey Kong had done something more unique, it probably would be viewed as more unique in this day and age. You know, it would probably be comparable to Mario and Zelda and Pokemon because it'd be doing its own thing. But as it stands, it's a platformer. It's another platforming series, and I feel like that genre is already saturated when it comes to Nintendo. So it's like people play Mario, then they play Kirby, and it's like then there's Donkey Kong, and people enjoy Donkey Kong. I'm not saying people haven't enjoyed Donkey Kong. I mean, I love the hell out of Tropical Freeze, but it's just, I feel like if Donkey Kong had done something different from the get-go instead of being a platformer, people probably would, you know, treat it differently. You know, they'd probably treat it as a more unique, standalone, interesting experience. So, I mean, Donkey Kong is a great platformer, but I almost wonder if it could be even better if it wasn't a platformer, if it was something else. I don't know what else it could be. I don't have any ideas like that. And I'm not guaranteeing that if it had done something differently, that different thing would have been as successful or well received. I mean, it might not have been, and in which case it probably is better in its current situation where it's kind of considered a lesser series. But I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just rambling because that's what I normally do in this, and I think Donkey Kong is really just kind of fine the way it is. I mean, the fans love it, the games do sell, and really, what more could Nintendo want from a business standpoint, as long as it's selling? As long as the fans are respecting it, at least the fans are enjoying it, then there's really not much of a problem here. There is room for improvement if it's considered a lesser series by Nintendo fans, but it's really not an urgent issue, at least from the way I can interpret it. Okay, next question comes from Joseph Solano. When you actually have free time, how about a top 10 or more favorite animated series list? It could have anime, cartoons, or what have you. You like so many of them, and I think it only makes sense if we see that somewhere down the line. P.S. No rush. Well, first of all, thank you for no rush. I always appreciate that. That actually, is a really good idea. Because you're right, there are a lot of cartoons and animes that I do enjoy. I'm still trying to get into some cartoons. The biggest one that I think I'm going to start watching pretty soon is Steven Universe. My friend absolutely loves that show, and he cannot recommend it highly enough. So I think I might want to try to get into that series first, and then maybe I can see if I can include that on this list. Because this is actually a really good idea. I haven't done anything like that on this channel so far. If I remember correctly, though, on my older channel, I did do some kind of top 10 or 20, I don't even remember what it was, talking about cartoon series or cartoons that I liked. I think I pretty much only used like the intro theme songs, and it was all done in Movie Maker, and it was disgusting, and it was like really disgusting font and everything. It was really obnoxious to watch, and I try not to remember that. But I am definitely not opposed to doing some kind of spiritual remake to that, because cartoons have been a really big part of my life. I am a really big fan of animation, not from like an animator standpoint, but from like kind of a consumer standpoint. I really do enjoy animated series more than live action. So this is definitely something I think I could get on board with. I like this idea. Thank you for suggesting it. And, I could always use more ideas for videos, so I think this is definitely something I can take into consideration. I can't obviously give you a time frame for when this can be done, since I'm just now getting this idea from you, but I think this is something I could put together fairly easily. I think the only problem would be figuring out how to present the video, because obviously I can't use any sort of copyrighted material like footage or sound from it, because otherwise this video would probably never see the light of day thanks to copyright on YouTube. So, but I feel like that's probably more of a minor problem instead of a deciding factor on if this video can get done or not. But to summarize it, I like this idea, and I definitely think I could make it happen. But it's going to take a little work. But this is definitely a good idea, so thank you for suggesting it. I'll definitely take it into consideration. Okay, next question comes from PSB123. How likely do you think Shantae, Shovel Knight, and Isaac from Golden Sun being Smash 4 DLC characters is, thanks to the fighter ballot? Well, given as how Sakurai recently announced that the remaining DLC characters are going to be fan favorites, I'd say that all of their chances are pretty good, provided that they score high on the ballot. I mean, I have no personal attachment to any of these characters, but I have seen the support for them. I think they're definitely heavy contenders for, newcomers to Smash. But I think they're going to need more than just popularity to be in Smash Brothers. Well, actually, maybe not, because he just said fan favorites, so I don't know. Maybe just disregard what I just said. I think that it really depends on how they're doing the ballot. This is so difficult because we don't know exactly what they're calculating with the ballot, what they're tallying, what they're looking for. If we had some sort of insight or some sort of details as to how they're going to be actually, calculating the votes and deciding how to actually pick the characters, then I could probably give you a more clear answer, but as it stands, I just don't know. But I think they need to score high on the ballot itself in order to actually make it into the game. I think because a lot of characters have fan bases, and a lot of characters have vocal fans, and they have popularity, but if they don't score high on the ballot, then what's the point? So I think they're popular, and that's definitely something, but they need to be popular on the ballot. And as it stands, we just don't know enough about how the ballot is going to work to really come to any sort of conclusions about what kind of characters or what kind of chances characters have. But if I were to make some sort of educated guess about this, I would say that especially for Shantae and Shovel Knight, their chances are especially really good because, they've got their developers backing them up. I think they just have a lot going for them. And Isaac was an assist trophy, so maybe he has that trump card to pull. But, you just don't know. I mean, I'm no expert on this, and I can't really speak in any sort of specifics. And it's like I just don't have any sort of personal attachment to any of these three characters. I mean, I haven't really played any of their games, and I've got so many characters in Smash that I like already. I've got enough characters that I play as that are currently in the game to keep me coming back for more for years to come. So I'm kind of indifferent at this point. I don't really care one way or the other which characters get in. I'm just here for the ride. I'm just going to take the characters as they're given to us. But yeah, I think it's going to depend really heavily on how the ballot plays out, and I just don't know how that's going to work. Okay, next up we have 3 questions from Master Mario 548. Number 1. What do you think Double D keeps under his hat? The only physical copy of Half-Life 3 in existence. Number 2. From what state of the US do you come from? I will not tell you that much, but I will give you a tiny little hint. I live in the West. Make of that what you will, and go nuts, I guess. But please don't come to my house, because I don't want visitors like that. That'd be just a little bit weird. Not gonna lie. Number 3. Pancakes, waffles, or French toast? Pancakes all day, every day. Next question comes from Kirby Master Ultra. Are there any specific reasons why you stopped caring for MLP, or was it just a case of you losing interest in it overall? There are a couple of reasons why I just sort of stopped caring about MLP, but I think the biggest one is probably because I don't like the fan base. But then again, I don't like most fan bases. I don't like the fans in the fan bases that I consider myself to be a part of. I mean, this isn't just an MLP exclusive thing. This goes for most fan bases. You've got really loud, annoying, illogical fans who just are so entitled and they think they know what they want, but they really don't. They think they know what's best for the topic in question, but they don't. And there's just so many of them in the MLP fan base. I mean, bronies were just really starting to come off as really entitled and nitpicky, and it's all about us. We made the show what it is. We're so arrogant like that, and we're pessimistic when they don't give us what we want. They complain about every little thing that the writers do, and I just got tired of it. I just got tired of everyone complaining about everything, and I didn't like to associate myself with those kinds of people. I mean, to cover myself, not all the bronies are like that, obviously. There are a ton of really wholesome, great people that like MLP, so I'm not trying to generalize all of them into that same group. And there's people like that in every single fan base, as I said before. But God, these people are so vocal, and it gets so exhausting to deal with these kind of people, or not even to deal with, to be around these kind of people. It creates an atmosphere that I just didn't want to be a part of anymore. But aside from the fan base, the show, when I think about it, just never fully appealed to what I wanted from it. My favorite character was a side character, and as a result of that, he wasn't going to get as much screen time or focus as I wanted him to get. And due to the show's nature, this character would have never been explored in a way that would have been satisfying to me. The way they explored and fleshed out this character was satisfying, but not ever enough that I could fully walk away from the show saying I was content with it. And that's not even really the show's fault. I mean, the show did what it did. The show is what it is, and I'm not faulting it for that. It's just the way it was structured. This character that was my favorite just wasn't going to get the kind of screen time or the kind of episodes that I wanted him to get, and that's okay. But it's just the reality of that is that without that kind of, for lack of a better term, pandering to me, there was really going to be hardly anything else to keep me engaged in the show. It was just kind of an inevitable change. Again, I'm not faulting the show for it. The show is what it is, but it just wasn't. It just didn't have what I needed. So I just kind of stopped watching and I moved on from it. It's really not that big of a deal. To me, it was just a cartoon. To other people, it was more than that, but that's just not me. And I guess when I really think about it, I just sort of moved on from MLP. I moved on to other things. I'm watching other shows. I'm getting more invested into other ways of spending my time. I'm playing more games in my free time. I'm finding other hobbies, other ways to occupy my time. I'm doing things for my personal life to forward my productivity, and MLP was just something that had to go. It was just a loose end. It just wasn't meant to be, and I don't have any regrets about that. It was just sort of a phase for me that I just kind of moved on from. Aside from the rabid bronies, I don't really like to think of MLP with any sort of bad blood. It just wasn't meant to be in the end. I mean, I will not deny that I could probably go back to the show again at a later date and just watch it for the hell of it, because I won't deny that I did enjoy it. I can't possibly do that. But I just don't see myself ever becoming as addicted to it or as passionate or dedicated to it as I was. I don't see myself ever going back to that full state, because it's just, I've changed. And that's just the way it is. The show is the way it is, and I'm the way I am now. And we're just not as compatible anymore. There's still chances for me to go back and find some enjoyment with it. Same goes for LPS, but as it stands now, it's not meant to be. That's just the way I look at it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, next question comes from Improv Dude 20. If you can make a Season 6 of Teen Titans, how would you make it a Starfire story arc? That's kind of hard, because Starfire is different from the other Teen Titans in a way that I'm not even really sure if I can really explain it that well, because she's almost too basic, too simple, not versatile enough of a character to carry her own arc the way that the other characters did. I mean, you'd have to introduce some kind of generic villain or side characters from her past that have some kind of connection to her to build any sort of conflict or any real story, and that's essentially what the other arcs were, so it'd be really hard for Starfire to tell an interesting story given what we've been seeing from the show thus far. I mean, even though she didn't get her own arc, I feel like Starfire got plenty of screen time in the episodes that were centered around her. I feel like she got growth that she needed as a character in smaller increments than the other characters did, rather than having it all come in at once. And I kind of like that. It was different, it was unique in that sort of respect, and I'm satisfied with the growth that she got as a character because of those episodes, because I would rather take her get character development in that way instead of getting no character development at all. So given what we have seen from the show, what she got from it, I am satisfied with that, so I'm not absolutely desperate for another season of Teen Titans just on the stance that Starfire didn't get her own story arc. But if I had to come up with some kind of story, like if they announced that Teen Titans is coming back to the original Teen Titans and not Go, and that they were going to do a Starfire season or whatever, if I had to come up with some kind of story for that, I think I would like to see a kind of story that focuses on her balancing two lives. You know, the past life that she lived on Tamaran and her current life on Earth in the present. I mean, how does she walk that fine line between those two roles? I mean, how does she decide what memories, customs, traditions, beliefs, etc. to keep from her old life on Tamaran? And how does she decide what can be sacrificed in order to live a fulfilling life on Earth? You know, I'd want to see an arc that would explore the balance that she has going on here a little more. Maybe she goes through some sort of crisis, like this identity crisis, where she feels like she's losing touch with her past. Maybe she has conflicting identities. Maybe she has to go on some kind of journey of self-rediscovery to kind of figure out what is okay for her to let go of from the past and what is still sacred. How does she learn to accept her new life on Earth without completely losing touch of who she was before she came to Earth? I think it'd be really interesting to kind of see her explore that. I don't know specifically how they could go about telling that kind of story in a way that's interesting. I'm not a writer on the show, obviously, but that's just the best that I can think of, because that's essentially what I remember Starfire being as a character. I mean, there was more to her than that, but it's just the biggest aspect of her character was that she was an outsider from Earth. It's like the way things were on her planet were so different from the way things are on Earth, and it's like it was almost kind of like consistently comedic the way that she would misunderstand or misinterpret things that are done on Earth, or just the way she would try to incorporate her own culture into her situations on Earth, and it just wouldn't make sense. So it almost seems kind of unfair that, you know, the fact that she's an alien is kind of a running joke. I just think it could have been explored in a more serious and more wholesome way if Starfire were to get her own, you know, story arc. And I think if something like this were to happen for her, I don't think the resolution to such a problem should be so cut and dry. I think it'd be okay if she has some idea of who she is and who she wants to be, but it shouldn't be totally black and white. It shouldn't be totally clear. I think it should be left a little bit open to fan interpretation. And that's just something that's I think would be fulfilling and wholesome enough for Starfire's character without her having to fight some generic villain from her past or deal with characters that she only knew from her past, like the other characters did, like the other characters had to deal with. So I don't know, that's just my idea. The fans are so dedicated and so passionate when it comes to stuff like this that I would not be surprised if there is already a story like this, maybe like on fan fiction or something. But that's just my idea. That's just the best I can come up with. Okay, the next question comes from King Raikou. Any hopes for the next Spider-Man film? Please, no more of this.
As long as I got my suit and tie, I'ma leave it all on the floor tonight. And you got fixed up to the nines. Let me show you a few things. All dressed up in black and white.
Never again. Next question comes from Smash Mario Pro 2000. Old. Favorite/least favorite Smash character excluding the original 12? Excluding them, huh? Okay. I think my favorite would be a split between either Charizard or Mewtwo, and my least favorite would probably be Mr. Game & Watch. I don't like him. Sorry to his fans out there, but I just don't like Mr. Game & Watch. In fact, I fucking hate him in Smash Brothers. I can't play as him. I just cannot fight against him. His style is just too weird and too unorthodox for me to get the hang of. It's just, he throws me off every single time I fight him. I just can't stand him. I almost get angry when I lose to him just because he's so fucking weird compared to the other characters. And I know that makes him unique, and I know that's why people like him, and more power to them, but I just don't like him. He bothers me. Burn me at the stake if you want to, Game & Watch fans. I don't like your favorite character. But we all have that one character that we just can't stand in Smash Brothers for one reason or another, and mine is Mr. Game & Watch. And Luigi. Fucking Luigi. Next question comes from the internet. Okay, I thought I already was answering questions from the internet, but I guess we're going meta. What is your opinion on the current state of relationships? A little vague, I think. I'm not sure what kind of relationship you're referring to. Just like a boy and girl thing or something? I don't know. I'm not in a relationship, so I don't really feel like I have a ton of ground to answer this question. But from my perspective, I think the biggest problem right now with relationships is that people just don't have trust for each other anymore. There's just no trust. I mean, nobody trusts their partner anymore. People are always cheating on one another. People are lying to one another, and it's just they're being deceptive. They're not being honest with who they are, and so they come up with like this character for themselves, and they present it towards someone and get someone's attention. And then when you find someone you really like and you settle down with, you can find out that that person wasn't being honest, and they weren't who you thought they were, and it's devastating. It's sad that people just can't be honest with each other. You know, I fully believe that without trust, then there's no possible way for a relationship to last. I really just don't believe it can. I mean, if you aren't 100% honest with yourself and okay with yourself and okay enough to express that honestly and truthfully to other people, then it's just not going to work. If people can't do the same for you, if you can't do that with each other and just be okay with it, then how can you possibly expect to live the rest of your life with that person happily? That's just what I believe. I mean, I'm just trying to be patient with myself. I'm just trying to wait until I can find someone that I really trust to be 100% honest about myself with, and that they can be honest with me, and that we can be okay with each other, that we can learn to like each other, love each other. And it's just, I feel like people just don't do that anymore. They just get into it for the sake of saying they're in a relationship, or they think too quickly about it. They don't give it enough time to think about who they're really with. And then that's why they just lose interest and they move on to other people. And it's just so sad because people are heartbroken by that. So if I just had to pin down the problem, I think it's just that people just don't have trust for each other anymore. You've got to learn to trust people, and they have to learn to trust you. So you've got to be honest. They have to trust that they understand who you really are, because you have to be honest with them. And that's how I feel. I just feel like people are just, they can't be honest with other people. And for that reason, I question if they're even really honest with themselves. Okay, and the final question comes from Ike Santiago. Do you think society is too wrapped up in technology? This is another one I don't feel like I have a ton of right to complain about, because otherwise I would almost sound kind of hypocritical. And I say this because I grew up with technology too. You know, I was born in '94, and we had television, and we had electricity and cars and all this technology that has made our lives easier. And as I've gotten older, we've gotten more technology. Phones have gotten way more advanced to the point where they do practically everything now. And I think, in a sense, we are wrapped up in technology, but I don't necessarily think that is such a bad thing. Because we have technology, we brought it upon ourselves because we wanted to make our lives more convenient. We wanted to make our lives a little bit easier. And that's not necessarily such a bad thing. It's not so bad that we wanted to make our lives so much easier, because, you know, we should be able to enjoy our lives. You only get to live one lifetime, 100 years. You only got that much time, so you should be able to enjoy yourself. And if you have to spend the entire time working or suffering or what have you, then you can't really say you lived a fulfilling life. So you should be able to, relieve yourself of as much burden as possible. So in that regard, I think it's okay that we enjoy technology. But I think really the problem with it is that we are a little too wrapped up in it. So I kind of agree with what you're proposing here. I think, and I am guilty of this too, I think that we are a little too focused on it to the point where it's kind of taking away from the other aspects of our lives. Like for me personally, I feel like I do spend too much time on the computer, on the internet. I mean, I'm having fun, and I think that's why I'm so okay with how much time I spend on it. But I think I do feel like there is more I could be doing with my day. There are instances where I could afford to turn off the computer and just go out and do something more productive. So, and I think that goes for everyone. I think if this is definitely a real problem, then I definitely think I am part of it. I just think people are too wrapped up in their phones and everything, and they don't spend enough time. Kids are spending too much time on their phones. They're not learning to be, to use their imagination, to think creatively, to go outside and come up with games and, find ways to amuse themselves without a phone. Because, when I was growing up, I didn't have the smartphones and everything, so I had to find my own ways to entertain myself. And I feel like I really appreciate that I had to do that, because I feel like that's made me more into a person that I like being. And I think kids need to be able to, develop themselves in that way. And they just aren't doing that when they have phones and have the screen just entertaining them 24/7. So I'm not trying to be like a hippie and saying, oh, all technology is evil, man. We need to fight back against technology because it's taking over. I don't think it's that bad. I think technology is a convenience, and I think it's okay to enjoy that. But I also just feel that maybe we are letting it take over a little too much. I think, if anything, we as a society need a little more moderation. We can enjoy our phones and our computers and television and whatnot, but I think we need to, kind of maybe limit ourselves a little bit. Like, don't sit in front of the TV all day. Maybe watch a couple hours and then turn it off and just go do something else. Like, go for a walk, or go read a book or something, or just go play a game, or do something else. Like, not like a video game, like a board game or something. But yeah, I think all we really need is moderation. And the degree of that could be up for debate. Some people could argue that we need a lot of moderation, and some people could argue that, we don't need that much. That's kind of how I'm feeling. But yeah, I think I am agreeing with you that we are wrapped up in technology to the point where it is kind of a problem, but I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. And I would be dishonest with myself if I said that I didn't enjoy technology, because I do. I mean, hell, I'm on YouTube making videos for you because I enjoy being on the internet that much. So yeah, I think this question is open to interpretation. I don't think my answer is the be-all, end-all of it. I think you're going to get a different answer depending on who you ask, but that's just how I'm feeling about it. So that was a great question, though. I appreciate that. And on that note, I think that's going to about do it for today. I think you guys have had enough of technology of watching me for today, so I encourage you to go out and go ride your bike or something, or go swimming because it's summer and it's hot, or just go for a walk or do something a little more productive. You know, give your eyes and your brain a break. But whether or not you wanted to listen to me, that's your own opinion. That's your own choice. I don't really care that much. I just thought I would say something, you know, meaningful. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sending in the questions. Feel free to send more. And I will see you guys in the next installment. This has been Brawlmaster 012 signing off.